Sunday dinner at my parents' house had become a weekly showcase for my brother Marcus's professional achievements. As regional sales manager for Pinnacle Marketing Solutions, he commanded the dinner table like a boardroom, regaling us with stories of closed deals, quarterly bonuses, and company recognition. The VP said my territory has the highest conversion rate in the Northeast, Marcus announced while cutting his steak. They're considering me for the national accounts position. Mom beamed with pride. That's wonderful, sweetheart. What would that mean for your salary? Probably pushing into the low six figures, Marcus replied with practiced modesty. Plus stock options and a company car upgrade. I sat across from him, quietly eating my meal while he held court. At 28, Marcus had everything our family valued: a corner office, an expense account, and the respect that came with an impressive job title. He wore custom suits, drove a leased BMW, and lived in a luxury apartment downtown. At 31, I was still the family question mark. What about you, Jamie? Dad asked during a lull in Marcus's presentation. How's the consulting work going? It's going well, I replied. Just signed a new client last week. Marcus looked up from his phone with that condescending smile I'd grown to hate. Another small business that can't afford real marketing help? It's a manufacturing company looking to optimize their operations. Operations consulting, Marcus repeated with air quotes. That's basically just telling people to work harder for less money, right? It's process improvement and efficiency analysis. Right, he said dismissively. Well, when you're ready for a real career, let me know. Pinnacle's always looking for entry-level account coordinators. The pay's not great to start, but you could work your way up. The offer was delivered with the tone of someone doing me an enormous favor. I appreciate it, but I'm building my own business. Marcus laughed. Jamie, you've been building your own business for 3 years. At some point, you need to accept that entrepreneurship isn't for everyone. Marcus, Mom said gently, Jamie's working very hard. I'm sure she is, Marcus replied. But hard work without strategy is just spinning your wheels. Look at the numbers. How much did you make last year, Jamie? I took a sip of water, buying time. The truth was complicated. My consulting firm had generated $2.8 million in revenue last year, but explaining that would require explaining the rest of my business structure, which my family wouldn't understand. Enough to cover my expenses, I said simply. See. Marcus spread his hands as if proving a point. That's not building wealth. That's barely surviving. He pulled out his phone to show everyone his latest commission statement. This is what building wealth looks like. Pinnacle paid me $47,000 in bonuses last quarter alone. The table was appropriately impressed. Dad whistled low. Mom asked if he was investing wisely. Even our teenage cousin asked for career advice. The key is finding a company with real growth potential, Marcus explained. Pinnacle's been acquired twice in the last 5 years. Each time, the acquisition boosted our value and compensation packages. That's smart thinking, Dad said approvingly. It's about positioning yourself with winners, Marcus continued. Successful companies, successful people. That's how you build a successful life. His eyes met mine across the table. Some people chase dreams. Smart people chase opportunities. After dinner, Marcus cornered me in the kitchen while I helped with dishes. Jamie, I'm going to be direct because I care about you, he said in his best managerial voice. This consulting thing isn't working. You're 31 years old, living in a studio apartment, driving a car that's older than some of our employees. I'm happy with my life. Happiness doesn't build retirement accounts, he replied. Look, I know you think you're being independent and entrepreneurial, but you're actually just avoiding real responsibility. Real responsibility? Career advancement. Building professional relationships. Creating financial security. He gestured around our parents' kitchen. Do you want to be 40 and still struggling to pay rent? I'm not struggling to pay rent. Okay, but you're not thriving either. And frankly, it's embarrassing when my colleagues ask about my family and I have to explain that my sister is still trying to make it as a freelancer. The word, embarrassing, hit harder than I expected. You'll never be successful like me, Marcus continued, because you don't understand what success actually requires. It requires joining systems that are already working instead of trying to reinvent everything from scratch. His phone buzzed with a text message. He glanced at it and frowned. Mandatory company meeting tomorrow morning, he said. Probably announcing the national accounts promotion. Perfect timing. I nodded and continued washing dishes, letting him interpret my silence as acceptance of his lecture. What Marcus didn't know was that I'd spent the last 6 months acquiring Pinnacle Marketing Solutions. The build-up. My consulting firm, Meridian Strategic Advisors, had started small 3 years ago. I'd begun by helping local businesses optimize their operations, streamline processes, and increase efficiency. Word of mouth had led to bigger clients, more complex projects, and eventually acquisition opportunities. 18 months ago, I'd used the profits from consulting to purchase my first company, a struggling logistics firm that needed operational restructuring. After implementing new systems and management processes, I'd sold it for 3 times what I'd paid. The success had opened doors to larger deals. I'd purchased, restructured, and resold 4 companies in various industries, building both capital and expertise in corporate turnarounds. Marcus thought I was a freelance consultant barely covering expenses. In reality, I was building a portfolio of business acquisitions worth over $25 million. 6 months ago, I'd identified Pinnacle Marketing Solutions as an acquisition target. The company had good revenue but poor operational efficiency, outdated technology systems, and management structure that prioritized sales over sustainable growth. More importantly, the private equity firm that owned Pinnacle was looking to exit their investment. After 2 previous acquisitions, they'd maximized the company's value under their business model and were ready to sell to a buyer who could take it to the next level. I'd approached them through intermediaries, presenting a comprehensive restructuring plan that would increase efficiency by 40% while reducing operational costs. The acquisition had taken months of due diligence, financial analysis, and legal negotiations. Last Friday, I'd signed the papers to purchase Pinnacle Marketing Solutions for $18.7 million. Marcus, who'd spent dinner bragging about positioning himself with winners, had no idea he was about to work for his little sister. Monday morning came with Marcus's usual confidence. He texted the family group chat at 7 a.m. Big announcement at work today. Probably getting the promotion. Dinner's on me this weekend. I arrived at Pinnacle's offices 30 minutes before the mandatory meeting, wearing a tailored navy suit and carrying a leather portfolio. The building's directory still showed the old ownership, but that would change by afternoon. Executive Assistant Karen greeted me in the lobby. Miss Peterson, everyone's assembled in the main conference room. Are you ready to begin? Give me 5 more minutes, I said. I want to review the transition timeline once more. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I could see the entire Pinnacle staff assembled. Marcus sat in the front row checking his phone and adjusting his tie. He looked confident, probably assuming the meeting would announce his promotion to national accounts. The current general manager, Richard Connolly, approached me in the lobby. Miss Peterson, the staff is curious about the ownership change. Most of them have no idea this was coming. That's normal for acquisitions, I replied. We'll address all their concerns this morning. What about the management changes? When should we discuss the new reporting structure? I'll handle that today as well. Richard looked nervous. Under the acquisition terms, his position was being eliminated. He'd be offered a generous severance package, but his days of running Pinnacle were over. The sales team is particularly anxious, he continued. They're worried about commission structures and territory assignments. They shouldn't be. Our goal is to improve performance, not disrupt what's working. At 9 a.m. sharp, I walked into the conference room. 63 employees turned to look at me. Account managers, sales representatives, administrative staff, and support personnel. Marcus was in the second row now, having given up his front row seat to someone he assumed was more important. He hadn't recognized me yet. In my business attire with professional styling, I looked different from the casual consultant he saw at family dinners. Richard stepped to the front of the room and called for attention. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for gathering on short notice. As you may have heard, Pinnacle Marketing Solutions has been acquired by Meridian Strategic Holdings. I'd like to introduce the new owner and CEO, Ms. Jamie Peterson. The room went quiet as I walked to the front. That's when Marcus looked up from his phone and our eyes met. His face went through a fascinating progression of emotions. Confusion, recognition, shock, and finally something approaching panic. Good morning, I said to the room, though my eyes remained on Marcus. I'm Jamie Peterson, and as of Friday, I'm the new owner and CEO of Pinnacle Marketing Solutions. The revelation. The conference room was absolutely silent. Marcus stared at me with his mouth slightly open, his phone forgotten in his lap. I know this comes as a surprise, I continued, addressing the room while watching Marcus process the reality. Acquisitions always create uncertainty, but I want to assure you that this change represents opportunity, not disruption. I clicked to the first slide of my presentation. Meridian Strategic Holdings specializes in operational optimization and growth acceleration. Over the next 18 months, we'll be implementing new systems, expanding service offerings, and positioning Pinnacle for significant market growth. One of the senior account managers raised her hand. Will there be layoffs? Our analysis indicates that Pinnacle is actually understaffed for its market potential. We'll be hiring, not firing. However, there will be organizational changes and new performance standards. Marcus finally found his voice. Jamie? You're the new owner. The entire room turned to look at him, then back at me. Marcus and I know each other personally, I said calmly. But today we're establishing professional relationships. I advanced to the next slide, which outlined the new organizational structure. Richard Connolly will be stepping down as general manager. I'll be assuming direct operational control while we search for a permanent GM. Richard nodded, having expected this announcement. Sales territories will be restructured based on market analysis and performance metrics. Some of you will see expanded territories and increased earning potential. Others may find their roles evolving to better match company needs. Marcus raised his hand shakily. What about the national accounts position? There was supposed to be an announcement about promotion opportunities. All personnel decisions will be made based on comprehensive performance reviews, I replied. Previous promises or expectations aren't binding under new ownership. The bluntness of my statement sent a ripple through the room. These employees were used to Richard's informal management style and casual promises about future opportunities. However, I continued, this company has tremendous growth potential that's been constrained by inefficient processes and limited strategic vision. Those of you who embrace change and demonstrate adaptability will find significantly more opportunity under our ownership than you had before. I clicked to a slide showing projected revenue growth. Our goal is to double company revenue within 3 years. That means more commissions, more bonuses, and more advancement opportunities for those who contribute to that growth. The mood in the room shifted from anxiety to cautious optimism. Doubling revenue meant doubling earning potential for successful employees. Now let's discuss specific changes. First, we'll be implementing new CRM software and sales tracking systems. Training begins next week. Marcus raised his hand again. Jamie, can we discuss this privately? You can schedule a meeting with my assistant like any other employee, I replied without breaking stride. Second, we'll be restructuring commission plans to reward long-term client relationships, not just initial sales. For the next 30 minutes, I outlined operational changes, new policies, and performance expectations. The presentation was professional, comprehensive, and left no doubt about who was in charge. During the question period, Marcus sat quietly, no longer the confident sales star who'd commanded our family dinner table. Around him, his colleagues asked about career development, earning potential, and growth opportunities. What kind of experience do you have running marketing companies? Asked one of the senior staff members. I've acquired, restructured, and successfully sold 4 companies in the last 2 years, I replied. My background is in operational consulting with a focus on performance optimization. Are you planning to sell Pinnacle as well? That depends entirely on how successfully we can grow it. Companies that consistently hit performance targets and maintain strong market positions tend to be worth keeping. After the meeting, employees filed out in small groups, discussing the changes and speculating about their futures. Marcus lingered, waiting until the room was nearly empty before approaching me. Jamie, what's going on? I bought your company, I said, packing up. You can't afford Pinnacle. I already did. My consulting profits funded it, and others too. Marcus looked shocked. How much did you pay? Confidential. But I'm your brother. At work you're my employee, I said. News spread fast. Marcus Peterson's sister was the new CEO. By lunch everyone knew. Later Marcus came to my office. How did you pull this off? I built a business and bought others. You never listened when I tried to explain. I didn't know you were this successful. You never cared to know. Can we keep family separate from work? Only if you accept me as your boss. He asked about his role. It depends on performance, not family ties, I said. Weeks passed. The company grew. Employees adapted. Marcus struggled. His numbers were good but not great. Promotions went to stronger staff. 3 months later he came back. Maybe I should move on. I think that's best, I said. Will you give me a reference? An honest one. You're a solid salesman. 2 weeks later Marcus left for a competitor. Family dinners became calmer. He still talked about work without lecturing me. Under my lead, Pinnacle's revenue doubled in 18 months. My business empire grew past $40 million. The real lesson? Respect isn't earned by explanations. It's earned when people see the results. Marcus once told me I'd never be successful. He only believed otherwise when he worked under me. And sometimes that lesson is worth more than money.